Well, Governor Holcomb recently delivered his second State of the State address, placing a heavy emphasis on education and workforce. But before we get to some of the key takeaways from that address, we do have a bit of breaking news late in the week as we are recording. E-commerce giant Amazon narrowing down its list of potential cities for its second headquarters. Indianapolis among 20 finalists for that massive investment. And for more, let's turn to national site selection firm KSM Location Advisors CEO Tim Cook and President Katie Culp for some perspective. And welcome back, as always.
Thanks, Gary.
We've been talking, everybody's been talking about Amazon and this mega project, 50,000 jobs, whatever the number is, huge. Top 20 list, the final 20 list, I guess Indianapolis on the list. Any surprise to you, any takeaways?
You know, the fact that there were 20 finalists and we made the list, it doesn't surprise me, especially if you look at some of the other cities that are of like size, Columbus, Nashville. But I mean, how exciting for the city and the state that they have made this cut. From the beginning, this has been about survive and advance, and they got to the next round.
Yep. Katie, your take.
You know, I'm so excited for the city and the region, but I was pleasantly surprised. I think that while we all know and love Indianapolis, I'm not sure that at a national level that is the same level of awareness. And when you look at the cool factor of some of these cities, even the like-sized one, Austin or Nashville, it's just, I'm just thrilled that we made the cut, and I think it says a lot about the product that we offer.
Yeah, a lot of people, and maybe it's downplaying expectations, but a lot of people are saying, hey, it's going to be a long shot for Indianapolis to land this thing. The decision will be made later this year at some point. From an Indianapolis standpoint, and maybe other cities on that final 20 list, what happens now? I mean, do you try to tweak and to modify and to do things to try to get on that next cut?
Well, I think Amazon is going to do their own due diligence now. There will probably be interviews, maybe on site, visiting sites. From Indianapolis' standpoint, they've obviously got a solid bid out there, so I think it's about making sure that you accentuate what the positives are, and it's kind of full steam ahead.
Yeah, and Katie, it's been talked about before, but regardless of the outcome, you don't want to be defeatist here, but regardless of the outcome, putting that bid in, getting on the final 20 list may be better. Even if Indianapolis doesn't get it, is that exercise a good thing?
I totally think it is. And the fact that we made it to the top 20, I mean, we've got some structural challenges which could be overcome, but are certainly big obstacles to win a project of this size. But now we're on the map, and now other, even large projects, but obviously smaller than this gigantic one, are going to be looking at Indianapolis too. It really credentializes us as a location.
Yeah, and I think to that point, a city like Minneapolis, everybody thought they were going to be part of the top 20. They did not make it.
Interesting, yeah.
So Indianapolis has some bragging rights that, you know, cities like Detroit, Cleveland, Cincinnati are not going to be able to say those things.
Yep, very good. Well, let's move on to Governor Holcomb's second State of the State address. Last year, unveiling his legislative agenda, got much of what he talked about. Your takeaway from this year's address?
Gary, it seemed like it was a lot about workforce. The speech was maybe 30 minutes. He spent 8 of it on workforce development. So I think that's where it should be. He's called it the defining issue of this decade, and I think the governor and the state agencies that have an impact on that are going to spend a lot of time on that in the next year.
Yeah, Katie, your big takeaway.
Well, I think I'm thrilled that that is a focus, because it's a need at all levels of our economy and workforce, whether it's the opioid addiction problem with certain types of work, well, it really crosses all of them, or the high skill need for additional development of tech talent or what have you. I mean, it kind of crosses the board. I hope that as part of this, I mean, so much money is fueled into this initiative, but there are a lot of silos, there are hundreds of programs and organizations, and I hope a lot of intention and thoughtfulness is given towards making it easier to use and really allowing employers and employees and government to kind of go towards a common goal.
Is that the big challenge, really? Because, you know, your workforce, huge issue, kind of an obvious one, putting a lot of money toward it, but getting that coordinated effort, whatever you want to call it, more of a laser focus to make the training programs more effective.
Yeah, I mean, the challenge is how do you take funding that you've appropriated and then translate that into results? It's something that every state struggles with, and Indiana and the city have a low unemployment rate, so now the challenge is how do we raise income levels and do some of those other workforce
The
issues.
stakes for being successful, from an economic development standpoint, if the state is not successful in addressing workforce, is it something that can really begin to have an impact on deals?
Yeah, it does, especially when you look at like the tech sector, warehouse distribution, some of these parts of the economy that are really struggling to find workers.
Yep.
That's where I think you can make a big difference.
All right, the governor also talked about jobs, wants the state, the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, to really ramp up efforts. They've had very good numbers, record level numbers in recent years. Want to really ramp that up.
Yeah, you know, I think they have had the benefit of a wonderful economy to be operating into, but the IEDC has done a great job and been really aggressive with projects. But to get from, I think it was, what was it, 30,000 to 35, that's going to require a lot of proactive and thoughtful steps forward. You can't sit back and relax about it.
Yep. What did he not say? I'll start with you first.
Yeah, it was interesting. He didn't talk a lot about the social issues that have gotten a lot of attention, whether it's Sunday sales, whether it's permits and guns, marijuana, medical marijuana. I think that's been the right approach because it served him well last year to keep a focus on the blocking and tackling type of issues and to stay away from some of the more controversial issues.
Yeah, so Katie, that focus would seem to indicate that he's focused on jobs, the economy, workforce, those issues.
Yeah, it seems a lot more reminiscent of like the Daniels administration than say the Pence administration. But so I think that's great, and I think if we continue to focus on making us a good place to locate in, that's probably a good place to spend our time.
All right, very good. Great perspective as always, and we'll continue to follow, obviously, this Amazon story as well. Katie Culp, Tim Cook, KSM Advisors, thanks very much.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Gary.
Gary.
All right, and I'll be right back after this.